thought this week we'd take a look at my GT Omega ART Cockpit. We're in 2020, it's been out a few years. I've had it 2 years, so I can give you a good review of sort of how it's held up over those couple of years that I've had it. And I give it a hard time, as most of you know, I'm a big rally fan, big dirt rally fan. I've got a motion platform, so the rig does get a hard time, over the time that I've had it, especially the last year since I've had my motion platform. So I thought, let's have a little look at it. It's a good entry-level rig. The price point puts it in similar territory to the foldaway cockpits, like the Playseat Challenge and the Next Level Racing FGT Lite. And depending whether you opt to buy it with a seat or not, it's actually cheaper than the FGT Lite by about 50 quid. So yeah, in fact, price-wise, if you buy just the cockpit on its own with no seat, it's a couple of £100. Maybe you've got a car seat at home that you want to use, or you're going to go rob a car seat from a scrapyard, or whatever you might want to do, try and keep costs down a little bit, so you can do that. That's the 200 no option. If you want the RS6 seat, which is what I've got there, this red and black one, which is a nice seat, I might add, that's about another 120, 130 quid, I think, bringing it to maybe 320, 330. They also do two other seats, the RS9, which is a little bigger and chunkier, and about another 10 or 20 quid maybe, I'm not quite sure. And then the XL RS, I believe it's called, which is the biggest one they do. And that's probably another 40 notes or something. I'll have to check the website for prices. Well, I did check, but I've forgotten already. So you can all have a look at that. They'll be linked in the description to the GT Omega website anyway. And in fact, there'll be discounted links as well, should anybody be looking for a review of one of these with a view to buying one. Click through and you'll get a 5% discount. It's not massive, but it's better than nothing, isn't it? So yeah, what I'll do is I'll grab the camera, we'll get a close-up, I'll take you round through some of the features, show you the bits I like, show you the bits I don't like. Obviously, we need to bear in mind at this price point, it is entry level, so there will be things that aren't as good on this as there will be better on, more expensive setups. So let me grab the camera and we'll take a little stroll around. So, where do we start on this? I guess we'll start at the back. Well, in fact, this is the RS6 seat you can see there. It doesn't come with harnesses, that's what I fitted afterwards. And in fact, yeah, for those of you that are going to buy a seat, let's have a little close up on this. Bearing in mind it's 2 years old, there's literally nowhere on the bolsters, on the front of the seat itself, on the upright section. I mean, there's a tiny little bit of sort of crease in there, but there's got to be something. I've been using it for the last 2 years. The cat does like to pluck the back of it, although you can't see that in this video, so I do have to put a blanket over it. So if you've got cats, just bear that in mind. Again, this side, still in lovely condition, and that's 2 years old. So the seat certainly holds up. The only thing I would say about these sort of vinyl seats is that they do make you sweat. I think next time round when I change rigs, I'm going to try and get a fabric seat, because these vinyl ones do make you sweat a little bit. But yeah, the seat holds up, it's comfortable, and it hasn't worn, at all that I can see in the time I've had it. So if we go down to the seat slides back and forward on runners, so you can adjust it for different height people. You'll see here there's casters on the bottom of this one. That's an optional extra. I opted for those because I do like to be able, or did like to be able to slide it around. And in fact, for this video, I've brought it out from the corner where it would normally sit. So they're handy if you need them. One thing I will say is they have bent over time. If you look at that one there, you can see it's on the wonk. Now, technically, it's not the caster that's bent. And if you'll see, it's where it screws in to this box section here. Because it only screws in to the very bottom and doesn't screw into anything at the top, the leverage of this caster has just twisted and deformed the underside of this box section. Obviously you can't see it, but you can see the angle the caster's at. Now the reason for this is because all the weight is here on the caster, and obviously the fixing point is here. So you've got the distance from here to the centre of the caster, which is what, an inch or so. That's leverage acting on the fixing point there. Now, it still functions, it hasn't stopped working, but it is bent. and a couple of them have done that. I don't think the others on this side look okay. But yeah, there's probably another one on the other side because I have noticed a couple. So they're a good option because if you need to move your rig around, and they do work just fine. But as you can see, that one there has actually deformed the box section where it screws into. So what else have we got whilst I'm down here on my knees? These two here, thumb screws, allow you to adjust the rear section, move it further forward or further back. And what is actually quite cool is if you leave, now which ones is it? I think I let this piece of metal here, which is what joins them, slide as far as it will go into the back section, or it might be the front section, I think actually. Yeah, and then they left a mark on here, so I can actually undo these thumb screws each side, and the whole back section will just slide out, and you're basically left with a racing seat on wheels, which you can actually, I used to use it for an additional seat in my front room for people to sit on, because it takes 2 seconds to undo those thumb screws. And as long as you've got a mark there, you can put it back exactly where it was. So that's a handy little bonus. It wasn't intended for that, I'm sure, but I find it useful. You know, you can literally just use it as a perfectly good, comfortable seat. It doesn't tip over or anything. So yeah, handy little bonus there. So yeah, that's your adjustment for sliding the rear half of the cockpit back and forward. Like I say, you have got sliders on the seat as well. So you've got plenty of adjustment back and forward there. I've got my motion platform on here. So what would normally be here is some sort of rectangular upright sections of steel with GT Omega on them that the seat would then bolt down to. They also have, I should have got them out the loft, but I didn't think about it. They also have some height adjustment on those. From memory, there's 6 bolt holes, so you can adjust it up and down to get the seat height exactly where you want as well. Obviously, they're held with nuts and bolts, so you couldn't adjust them quickly and easily, but you would do it when building the rig and put it where you want it. But yeah, my motion platform's obviously in the way, so I had to remove them. But yeah, that's what would normally be there. One either side. In fact, if you've looked at these, you'll see it on the GT Omega website what I'm talking about. Well, in fact, they're not in the loft, they're under here because I'm using them to hold the power supply for the motion rig. I'm using 2 of them out of the 4 sections. But yeah, you can just about make them out at the bottom there. Anyway, that's what you've got at the back. Your height adjustment, your back and forward adjustment, your seat adjustment, and the casters again are optional. Coming round to the front, my pedal deck I've had to raise up because my motion platform raises the seat up too much, so I had to raise this up as well. This piece here would normally be just bolted there. So if you picture this end here, it would normally sit flush with the rig across the middle there, bolted in either side. And then it pivots on that point, and you have some adjustment here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little holes of adjustment where you would undo your thumb screw and tilt it at whatever angle you want. Again, I've got it sat how I've got it sat because I've got the motion rig which lifts it up. This isn't an issue with the cockpit because, as you can see, the motion platform sat right on the bottom. It's just what happens with motion rigs. If I had a next level racing motion platform, it would do the same thing. It would raise it up. It's just the way they are. If you've got a rig where you could fit your motion platform inside this gap, so it sat, you know, pretty much on the floor, I wouldn't have had to have done this. But there's probably only alley profile rigs that will let you do that. But yeah, so that's why that's up there. It would normally be here with your adjustment there. So you can adjust the rake of the pedal deck. Now the pedal deck is rock solid. There's no play or flex or movement in this at all. It is braced across both sides. And yeah, I've never noticed, I've got my Fanatic pedals on there, I've never noticed any flex or any movement in it at all. We'll just come around the back here and take a look. Obviously it's pre-drilled for all your various different sets of pedals, as you would expect. Excuse this wiring mess. I've got like, these are all things plugged in that are attached to the rig. I've got like 2 USB hubs here with 7 USB devices plugged in, so just excuse the mess. But yeah, so that's the pedal deck, pre-drilled for, you know, Thrustmaster, Logitech, Fanatic, all the usual bits and pieces. I've also got the monitor stand attached, which doesn't come with it, so just bear that in mind. It won't come with a monitor stand. It would normally just finish, now my bloody ducting's in the way, it would normally finish just there where that thumb screw is in the front. You wouldn't have that thumb screw in, you'd just finish there. But those upright sections that you see here, that's what the monitor stand bolts into. So then we've got these upright sections here, or angled sections here, with thumb screws here. If I can get that in shot better. This looks a little dark on my camera, hopefully it won't in the final production. So that will allow you to slide your wheel deck in and out. There's no angle adjustment on here, but there is a little on the plate itself that the wheelbase bolts to. You slacken these two here and you can adjust it a little bit up and a little bit down. So the small amount of adjustment there, your height adjustment comes with this piece here. And as you pull it up, it will also bring it forwards. So, you know, very similar to how most of this style of cockpits operate. So what have we done? We've done the back, we've done the front. You can see how it all bolts on there. Oh yeah, speaking of bolting on, obviously I can't show you how to build it because it's been built for 2 years. But from memory, there was no problem putting it together. I don't remember it being difficult. You know, having recently built one of their wheel stands, the instructions are plenty clear enough. So you shouldn't have any problems doing that. I believe it also came with all the tools you need to do it, Allen keys and potentially a little spanner as well. Again, I'm going back 2 years, so don't quote me on that. But it wasn't difficult to build. You know, none of these things are really. So yeah, where are we up to now then? We've done that, we've done that. Oh yes, have a look at the shifter mount. So there are 2 different types of shifter mount. This is the one it came with that bolts on here. Again, you've got various holes to adjust it forwards and backwards if you need to, and a thumb screw here which will allow this top section to go up and down. I've got my phonetic shifter attached, as you can see. I won't go through all my peripherals in this video because that would take me bloody ages because there's loads of them. But you can see the cockpit itself will hold a fair few bits and pieces, including the motion platform. So, you know, you can't really grumble. So yeah, there is another type of shifter mount that bolts to the front, which I believe I asked for in addition to this one. And I was using that at one point, and then I decided for whatever reason to go back to this one. I think potentially after I installed my motion platform, it was better to use this shifter mount than the other one. Now, as far as flex goes, let me get above for this, try and hold the camera still. There is a little bit of side to side. There is very little forwards and backwards. Again, you're going to expect some. It's an entry-level cockpit. As I say, that is to be expected. So what else we got around this side? Nothing really else around this side. So that is your main, that is your sort of walk around the cockpit. Again, the shifter plate is pre-drilled for all your usual Logitech, Thrustmaster and Phonetic, as is the wheel deck. So I think that's probably everything I've got to... I'll give you a quick close-up on my handbrake just for comedy value. Yeah, take a look at that. My DIY handbrake, maybe something I'll talk about in another video. But yeah, you can see everything there that you need to see now. You can see how the seat's held up, how the rig itself has held up. You know, so far the only negative really is the caster fixing points distorting. Aside from that, it's held up pretty well. Now, what I'll do now is I think is get inside it. We'll do a little bit of dirt rally, and I'll demonstrate where some of the flex is that you get, you know, in these more entry-level priced cockpits. So let's hop into that. Right, let's have a little blast here. So before I start, as far as flex and what have you goes, I don't know how well you'll see it in the video, but there is some up and down flex. I mean, you can see the monitor or TV in actual fact moving along with it, and there is some side to side, you know, on these upright sections here. You can see it wobbles there. Now, it looks worse than it is. The added weight of the monitor definitely helps with this side to side wobble. The up and down is reasonable, but again, we've got to remember the price point here. It's a £200 cockpit. It's not a lot of money. You know, and even with the seat, it's only $320, $330. So we really can't complain for the money we're paying here. Now, that flex you see there is actually quite easy to fix. And I'm going to show you that in a follow-up video, both the up and down and the side to side. So I'll show you that maybe next week if I get a chance to do that, and it eliminates it completely. So, so yeah, but that's what you'll be looking out for in this video. You won't see any movement flex at this end. I mean, there isn't any anyway, but obviously I have a motion platform, so it's going to be moving around. My wind is on as well. Hopefully that won't be too loud on my microphone. I've got it turned down a bit, so we should be all right. But yeah, you'll see how the cockpit holds up to a motion platform, you know, to the medium strength wheel applying forces to it, you know, in dirt rally, which I think is a good example. So let's just get that on the go. My driving will probably be terrible. It always is when I'm doing these demonstrations because I can't talk and race at the same time. But yeah, like I say, pay attention to the sort of flex we're getting, you know, as I'm counter steering hard there from one way to the other. And even yanking on the handbrake like that is going to add, you know, forces through the cockpit as well. But I really can't complain. I've had it for 2 years. You know, it's taken all these different upgrades and add-ons that I've thrown at it without any real problem. And as I say, next week I'll show you how to eliminate the flex pretty much all together that you do get up and down and side to side. You know, these this TSPC racer only puts out 6 or 7 Newton meters of torque, but you know, so probably perfectly suited really to an entry-level cockpit like this. You probably wouldn't want to put a DD wheel on it. I think there'd be too much strength there. It would move too much. Maybe not once you've strengthened up, which I'll show you next week, but we may find out one day, because I do plan on getting a DD, probably the Fanatec DD1. But then I may also, you know, upgrade my rig at that point to go with it. I would also in the future like to have more than just 2 axis of motion, but you know, it's all money really. But yeah, as you can see, it's holding up really well for a cockpit that's just a couple of 100 notes. You know, if you don't need a fold-away one, if you can fit a full static rig, you know, if you're not one of these people that needs a wheel stand or as I say, something that folds away, I would say it's a perfectly good entry-level cockpit. It can grow with you a little bit. I started out with Logitech steering wheel and set up, and now I'm on the Fanatec V3 pedals, Fanatec shifter, you know, the TSPC wheelbase, and a homemade handbrake that I should have just yanked on sooner. So we'll leave that there. But yeah, that's my review here in 2020. I'd say if you're looking for a new entry-level cockpit or an upgrade from a wheel stand or a fold-away cockpit or even a desk mount for a couple of 100 notes, don't really think you can go wrong. Like I say, we got up and down flex, we got side to side wobble. I'll show you how to get rid of those next week. I think it only cost me about a tenner, maybe 15 quid to sort it out, something like that. So it's really easy to do. As I say, the casters for me, 2 of them have bent and distorted the fixing points underneath here. Now that partly could be because of the weight of everything I've got on this cockpit. It may well not have been designed, you know. The motion platform is heavy. I'm reasonably heavy. This is a plasma TV, so it weighs an absolute ton, and it's actually bigger than what the monitor mount says it can take. And maybe I'll do another video about that actually. It works just fine, as you can see, but I think they only list up to 40 inch, and that's a 50. So, and again, being plasma, weighs an absolute ton. But Yeah, the shift, I mean, you couldn't see the shifter in the driving segment here, but as I demonstrated earlier, there's only a tiny bit of flex in that, certainly nothing to worry about. So yeah, there we go. GT Omega ART here in 2020. It is back in stock, I believe, in about a week's time. There is a link in the description with a discounted code or a discounted link, so to speak. So if you're looking to buy one or any of GT Omega Racing's products, click through and you'll get your discount there. There's also a discount code for Sim Racing Studio, which is the software I'm using to control this motion platform. They also sell these motion platforms, the DOF Reality ones. So yeah, discount code again. And when you're buying, you know, something that's maybe £1,000, that 5% really adds up. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it all helps. Anyway, I think that's pretty much it. Any questions, whack them in the description. Thanks to everyone for watching, for subscribing, for donating and supporting the channel. I do appreciate it. As always, have a nice weekend and take it easy.